Yeah, good evening, each and every one. Nice to see you. Nice. Bobby's
Good
back.
evening. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Bobby.
Good evening, Noxie. Good to see you, lad. And the lovely Clary.
Clary.
Yes. Bye. Has it been warm enough for you folks? It's been warm here.
It has been cracking.
You've been out and about today. Has it been warm out and about walking?
It has. It was bloody red hot.
Wasn't it?
Absolutely boiling.
Yes, Paul's been to hospital today and he's fine and dandy. I don't know how he sat down, but hey, I'll let him tell you that.
I'm sat down like I normally sit down. Nothing on the outside, everything was inside, so there's no pain on the outside, the pain's inside. So there we have it.
It is sticky warm. Now, here in West Yorkshire, near Leeds, we've had 2 or 3 beautiful days. I think it broke. Well, it's Saturday, Friday. It broke, and it's been warm ever since.
Yeah, it has. It's been hot.
And apparently we're going to get it here till Thursday. So
yeah, it's going to be a sticky night apparently.
Clary's on to you there.
I can tell you what, it's a long time since I've had a sticky night.
Happy birthday, Noxie. With your birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Noxie. I noticed that.
You got a call from Levi. Nice one.
Lovely.
Did he? Is he doing okay? I not watched your live, Paul.
Well, I didn't do one last night.
Did you not?
No, I unfortunately I'd taken my hospital preparation at 6 o'clock yesterday, which meant by 7 o'clock my bum was permanently parked. So I couldn't really. I could have done a live, but it'd have been a case of sorry, I'll have to go and then come back, and sorry, I'll have to go and come back. So I didn't do it.
Good evening, Kels. The lovely
evening, Kelsey, love.
Yeah, another year gone, Noxie lad. So yeah, I don't know. Paul takes it so lightly. I'd be bloody shaking in my boots, me, if I knew they were going to start playing with me backside up at the hospital.
Yeah. Well,
you've just got this attitude, haven't you? That get on with it.
It is what it is, isn't it? You know, you can't do out about it. I'd rather them go in the way they went in than them cutting me open to do it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I could, I just laid there and I was on the table for an hour and a half.
Well, you really?
Yeah, an hour and a half.
Wide awake?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I didn't have any. I don't know what you call it, but I didn't have any. The last time I went, I had gas and air because it hurt a little bit. But this time, because they were only going like 10 and 11, 12 inches in, I didn't need anything because it didn't hurt.
No.
It hurt when they were burning stuff off and, stuff like that. But
yeah. I take it that Noxie had a few things then. Hiya, Gilly.
Evening, Gilly.
For his birthday. How's your head today? He says. There's no wrong with celebrating your birthday, but I think as you get older, you don't bother me. Does it you, Paul?
No, it's a birthday, isn't it? I really don't care.
No,
whether, it's nice to get another birthday under your belt. I hope I've got another 30 or 40 to come.
Well, you know what they say, don't you? They said that you spend first half of your life not giving a bugger. You don't care. Second half trying to stay alive.
Yeah. I just don't, like I say, I hope that I've got plenty more.
Well, I'm getting like you. I'm thinking, well, I've got I've got another one under the belt, but and it's not. It's a bit of a dull subject, a bit of that, really. But when you watch people go around you as you get older, there's more funerals and christenings, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
And it's and you think, how the bloody hell have I outlasted them?
But the good thing is, I think it's genes have got a big thing to do with it, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? Your genes have got a good, not what you wear.
No,
the genes you've inherited.
Yes.
have got a lot to do with your life expectancy, I think. In my opinion, anyway.
So
Now,
you believe that this is passed down?
yeah. Now,
Right.
you know, or apart from people who like died in the war or stuff like that, which that's not helping, is it? But people who have lived basically a normal life and whatever, in my paternal and maternal, have lived to ripe old ages.
Right.
So so that's where I think it comes down from.
Right. Right.
But I mean, there's other things involved, isn't there? There's lifestyle and whether you drank 20 gallons of beer a day.
Yeah, there's
All that kind of shit.
Looking after your health, but
yeah.
Well, my mum went at 74, and my dad went at 73. So
that's not young, is it? Do you know what I mean?
No, but it's
the
not
good
old,
book says 70 years and 10. Which
yeah. But it's today's it is. It's not. I mean, come on, back in before our time, back in 1940s, 30s, you were an old man at 40, weren't you?
Yeah.
They were dying off. If you got to 60, then you had a cracking life.
Yeah.
Now it's
like I say, I think it's all part of genes. It all comes down from. It's all passed down through the generations. A long lifestyle or a long longevity is passed. I think that's only my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And another thing, I tell you what, another thing I've noticed, and it sounds a bit morbid, but I've noticed that quite a lot of people die round about their birthday.
Right.
So somebody was born like, I don't know, 4th of July, 1910. And when you come to look at their death, they were 14th of July, 1980. Do you know what I mean? There's lots and lots and lots and lots of them where they're close to their birthday.
Right.
Don't know whether that makes a thing, but it's just, you can make things as you want it to be, can't you? If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But of course, I see it because I see all the people and the birth dates and the death dates, and so you can things stick out. Oh, well, isn't that funny? I had one on Friday, and it was a couple who lived down south somewhere. They were a close relative of mine. They were my brothers in his paternal line. And the thing came back and said this guy had died on the 28th of January, I can't remember the date, but we'll say 46. And so I looked at his will and all that stuff online, and there was no mention of his wife. Normally, when there's a will, if the wife is still alive, they're normally in it, know.
Yes.
But there wasn't. And then it must have been an hour later, up pops this thing saying you've got a hint on this. And when I went to the person who it was hinted, it was his wife. And when I looked at the date of death, it was the same day as he died.
Bloody hell.
So they both died on the same day.
Wow.
So from that, you think, oh, right, well, that's not right, is it?
No.
Something's happened.
Yes.
They've either been in a car crash or got bombed in the war or whatever. But unfortunately, I've checked all newspapers and shit like that and can't come up with anything. But there's, I do have, there is one or two like that in my greater family tree.
Yeah, it's
where they've died on the same day. I had a couple who took their own life in London. They lived in Chelsea,
right?
And he was what do you call these people driving cars for other people? He was a chauffeur, and his first wife had died a few years before, and he remarried. And he hadn't been married 5 years, and they both died on the same day. And I found the newspaper report, and they'd gassed themselves.
Oh,
on the same day.
That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is sad. You've just cheered us all up there, Paul.
Well, sorry, but you know that it's just...
But coincidences.
It's just life, isn't it?
But there's coincidences. I mean, my father died, and his brother's wife... My father and his brother and my auntie and my mum, as a family, we all went to, like, as a kid, when I was kids, me and my sister, we all went out all the time. We went to because my uncle had a car and we'd take us to Blackpool, this and another. And we went all over the place. Anyway, when my father died, he was in hospice. They took him to local hospice and put him in a room. And anyway, he was there 2 weeks and he passed away. Less than 6 months later, my auntie, who I'd grown up with and spent a lot of years, she ended up in the same hospice, in the same bed, in the same room, and she died. Now,
wow.
What I'm saying is, when them two, my father and my auntie, when they were in their 20s and 30s socialising, there's no way they'd have thought they'd have ended up dying in the same bed, would they?
No.
It's just it's such a coincidence, isn't it?
But you do, I mean, you see a lot where either a husband dies and their partner dies within a few months.
I'll change that.
Or a wife dies and her partner dies within a few months. There's lots like that.
Yeah.
Where, so you put it down to like the broken heart bit and all that.
My camera won't stay still, Paul. It's drunk.
Yeah.
I think weather's got to it. Let me see.
There you go. That's okay.
Is it? Right.
Yeah, that looks all right.
Yeah, the coincidence do happen, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
It's a strange one. And it took some accepting, because my father died in this hospice, in this bed, in this room, and 6 months after, I'm visiting my auntie in the same bloody place. And it's like, okay, they were both local, but to actually, if somebody had told them to when they were in their 20s and 30s, you two will end up bloody in that situation, they'd have said, shut up, silly bugger.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those. It's one of those, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, these things happen, I suppose. But
that's better, isn't it? I've changed cameras. I've got 2 cameras.
All right.
Yeah,
that looks all right.
I look posh there, don't I?
You do.
Hey.
You do, really.
I look quite healthy there. I could have a long life. Famous. And tomorrow you'll all be saying, remember what he said before he dropped dead?
Yeah. Can you remember Bobby last week saying you'll have a long life? Poor bugger.
So have you been going out in garden at all then?
No, I haven't. I can honestly say no. No, it's I've just basically stayed in, keeping myself to myself and
you're not one of these that rushes out up for a sign of a decent day.
No. I occasionally, get a copy, go and sit outside and take my book and read a couple of chapters, but I get bored. I get bored easy.
Right.
So
my wife's like that. She couldn't read a full book if you.
No, I couldn't read it all in one go. I'd have to, a couple of chapters, and I'd have to put it down for a couple of days and go back to it.
Oh, at one point I got right into reading. I got one of them Kindles. Them Kindles.
Yeah.
And you download books. Oh, I were crackers on it. I loved it. I was reading all sorts. And, I got right into that at one point. I haven't picked it up for a long time. But I used to go to bed, you see, and read an hour before I went to sleep. Wife outside of me, and she'd say, I don't know how you read. Just tried. I can't concentrate for that long. But I found it was good to help me sleep,
Yeah.
Just read a couple of chapters and
drop off.
It relaxes you.
Yeah.
No, Noxie, I didn't go to Birmingham. It were with Sharon. I wanted to. I was going to think. I thought about it, but poor old Danny G. Yeah, poor old Danny G. Poor old Danny Christie. He just he got stopped on about fighting, bare knuckle fighting this weekend. He got stopped, but he put a good fight up, Noxie lad. He got put up a good fight. But yeah, so have you done now with hospital? Is that it?
Well, I'm saying yes, but I won't know because I won't know for 6 or 7 weeks until they've done the biopsy on this thing they took out today, because it was fairly big.
Right.
And he said it'll be 6 weeks or so before we get the biopsy back for this. Right. But I haven't had anything back about my camera down my throat because, you know, I still feel as though I've got a golf ball stuck in my throat.
Oh.
But
it can be that carries on. It can be depressing, can't it?
Yeah, I never feel hungry, you know.
No.
And when I read the instruction, I had to read these instructions about what I had to do before I went for the hospital this morning. And it said, you know, the day before, because it's an AM appointment, the day before you can eat anything up to 1 o'clock and then stop after 1 o'clock, and then drink your stuff at 5 o'clock, and then drink your second lot of stuff at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Go and get some sleep, and then next morning come to the hospital. Do not eat or drink anything before you leave home. So of course, I ate on Saturday night, and Sunday I had a sandwich. That's all I had all day Sunday, was a sandwich before 12 o'clock. And so I'd had a dinner on Saturday night and a sandwich on Sunday lunch. And that's all I've had to now. I haven't. I mean, I had a lolly, you know, an ice cream lolly when I come home, just to, you know, get my mouth back working.
Not good for all that.
But I'm not hungry. I'm not sat here thinking, oh God, I'm bloody starving. You know what I mean? Because I feel full all the time. So
maybe it's a side effect. I don't know.
Noxie, I don't bring phlegm up at all. It's just I can't. I try, and it just feels like I've eaten something and it's stuck in my throat, and occasionally it'll move a little bit. That's what it feels like. But it never goes away.
It's probably some kind of swelling, isn't it?
But I had the camera down my throat a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we can't find anything. And they took biopsies and all that kind of shit. I haven't heard anything back, but there's something wrong somewhere. So we'll just see how that one goes.
Yeah.
But like I say, the one this morning, of course, I watched it all the way through. and you can, you know, I saw him take it all. You could see it took about 10, 11 cuts to get rid of everything.
Wow.
And the first one he did was bloody. It looked huge, you know. Oh, fucking hell, that looks bloody massive. And evening, Tom.
Evening, Tom, lad.
He pulls it out and he leans over and said, "That's your polyp. Look, that's part of your." I said, "I don't want to fucking look, thank you." What do I want to look at that for? He said, "Oh, I just thought I'd show you." Well, it was the size of a small nut.
Right.
I can't think of a small nut, but bigger than peanut.
Right. And it felt huge.
It looked huge. It didn't feel huge when he took it out. It looked huge on the camera when I was watching it.
Well, obviously.
And then, of course, he went back in and took a little bit more and a little bit more and come back out and went back in and did some more, then come back out, went back in, did some more. Oh, okay, I'm going to be here all day. Anyway, it was an hour and a half. And then they wouldn't let me home, would they? So they says, right, everything's done, and what we'll do is we'll wheel you into recovery, and you can, recover in there. We'll get you a drink and a biscuit and whatever. And I said, oh, great. And anyway, I went into recovery, and this little nurse come up and took my blood pressure and all that kind of shit. And she says, right, I'll be back in 20 minutes to do it again. I said, how long do I have to stay? She says, 2 hours. I said, I can't lay in this fucking bed for 2 hours. I'm bored out my fucking head. I've been here all morning. So one of the other nurses went round out somewhere, and she come back a little bit later on with a magazine. Said, here's a magazine for you to read. So I read this magazine from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And when I got to the end, that was when my 2 hours was up. So I thought, oh, that's great.
Killed it, aye.
But yeah.
Well, I think you and Claret same. Yeah, they look huge on the camera.
Yeah, they do. It looks massive.
I don't know how you guys can look at bloody camera. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it was now. It's just, you see when you can watch it on telly, can't you? Your life in their hands and all that kind of shit where they do.
Oh, I don't know.
No.
Well,
it's life, isn't it? It's
yeah. I mean, it's all clever stuff.
I wasn't. I can tell you, when I first went in, I wasn't impressed. If you see what I mean, because today was the fourth time I've been in for the same procedure. The only difference today was it was going to be a longer procedure, cutting more out.
Yeah.
But I've been in 3 other times for the same thing. And this time, before I went in, he came out, the bloke came out and said, oh, this could happen, that could happen, blah, 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 blah. And who's your next of kin? I said, well, what do you want to know that for? You haven't asked that one before. I've been here 4 times. Nobody's ever asked for the next of kin. Oh, no, we need the next of kin. So give him a next of kin. So he said, now you need to sign this. So I signed the thing. We went into the room and got on the bed and laid down and got into the position he wanted me in. And then he said to the nurse, oh, you haven't put the, forgot what you call it now, the capulet in his arm. Was it capulet or camulet or
Capulet, yeah.
Whatever it's called. And I said, what do I want one of them? Oh, it's just in case. In case of what? I said, you're not instilling confidence in me. So I said, no, it's better to be on the safe side. So they stuck this little prick in my arm and put this thing in. And then off he went. But he was good. I'll give him his due. He was bloody good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cannula, that's the word, Clary. Thank you. I knew it had something to do with cans. I knew it wasn't Capulet because that's bloody Romeo and Juliet, isn't it? But yeah, it was. Well, it was a morning out, wasn't it? I don't normally get mornings out.
Morning. Bloody hell.
And I got to talk to plenty.
Yes.
Of nice looking nurses.
Oh, bloody hell.
When I walked into the room, there were 6 nurses in the room. Besides the bloke who was going to be sticking the thing up my bum. There were 6 nurses. And I thought, oh, fucking hell. They're all here to see that thing go ram up my ass.
Well, you've got great attitude, haven't you?
Yeah, it was. I did ask him as well. I did say, if I get my camera out, do you think I can record it for my live stream? And he said, no. So I said, okay. So...
Well, yeah, like you say, you have to have right attitude.
Yeah, it was.
I'm a bit of a softie myself. It's like,
yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's got to be done. That was the thing.
Yeah,
it has to be. It had to be done, whether it was going to be done hard or soft, if you know what I mean. What I had, I think, was an easy way, because I'd have hate to think they've had to cut me open to do it. Because anything can happen when they cut you open, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they could have left a fucking pair of scissors in, or you know what I mean. So
You're aware of that these, don't you? But
yeah, you do. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Paul on the pull. You're right, Noxie. I have a way with chatting to women. You might not realise it, but I do have a way.
is it?
No, Tom, I don't think there will be a return visit for the back end. There might be one for the throaty one, but not. Hopefully, touch wood. They find nothing wrong with this huge biopsy they took out. So.
Years ago, a little lump on my shoulder, tiny little thing. It's not a joke, this, and it was just it was there, and it was forever. Every time I got a shave, I used to look and think, "What is that?" And it was there. It was there for 2 or 3 years. No, it didn't hurt or anything.
Yeah.
Little lump, and I went to the doctor. Wife says, "Get to the doctor." Went to the doctor. He says, "Yeah, we'll take it off. Just send it away. Make sure it's not, it's not anything to be worried about." And he got scalp last, and I says, "Nah, it don't matter, leave it." And he won't let me. He won't let me because I said, "Nah, I don't. I'm not bothered now. You're right." No, now you've shown us bluff. Take it off. But it's good at National Health Service, isn't it? That they have.
Yeah. I don't knock them. I think they're great. I love them.
Noxie lad, I'm fighting fit. I'm peaking me athletic.
Noxie, I've not lost any weight at all. I had me. I was weighed in December. I went for I don't know what you call it, a health MOT or whatever you call these things. I got called in. We're going to do a health MOT, and they take your weight and your height and how you look and have you still got your bits working and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I weighed 13 stone.
Do you, Bayek?
And I had my weight done last week, and I was 13 stone.
How tall are you, Paul?
5'8" now.
So that's an healthy weight then. Yeah, it's not too bad.
I think so. I mean, I'm not a fat bugger. I do have a bit of a chubby gut.
I mean, I'm 6'3", but I can't break 17 stone. I can get down to 17, but I can't get any lower.
No, I stick around about 13 stone. But I can always remember, when I was a young man back in the day, I was always round about 11 and a half stone.
Yeah, I was that.
Yeah.
First 30 years of my life, I was that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, gravity got a grip.
Yeah.
And it all went south.
But I do have a little bit of a chubby tummy as such.
Well, that's normal.
I don't worry about it because when I go out, I stomach in, chest out. I was taught in the army, stomach in, chest out, shoulders back, and walk.
When we met up, Paul, I thought you look really, for your age, you look really well.
No, I feel okay. It's like I say, I'm saying I feel okay. I feel okay, but I know I'm not okay as such.
Anyway, it's that time now. Look, half an hour we've been on.
Have we?
What you need to tell us a story about your service.
All right.
Because we said we'd come back to this.
Clary, what's this dad bods? What's that?
Because once you get to a certain age, you get what you call a dad bod.
What's that?
Body, dad body.
All right, okay. A bit like dad dancing.
Yeah.
All right. Do you know, I did dad dancing when I was 18.
So go on then, Paul. Tell us a story about the time you were in services. Were there any characters that stood out?
Always characters.
Well, then go and tell us one.
Always characters. And I'm trying,
my father says biggest characters were them sergeant majors there were.
Oh, well, yeah, some of them were. But I can't honestly remember. Those, I can remember bits, but I can't remember exactly. What I do, one thing I do remember, I was a young man.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't been in the army long, and we used to live in these barrack blocks, and there were 4 4 platoons to each block, but there were no ablutions. You know, there was toilets for everybody, but there was no. You couldn't have a bath. Showers were never heard of then, so you couldn't have a bath, and you had to go to another block to do your ablutions, you know, a shave and all that kind of shit.
Right.
But you also had to go to the other block to have a bath. And I remember going, you know, we had a big bathhouse. Well, we had about 3 big bathhouses, and we were we were called on parade. And I can't remember what day. It was a Monday morning or so.
What do you call a bathhouse?
Where baths are.
It's not one big bath. It's
No.
Like
single bath.
Is it like footballers after the game? You
No.
know.
It's a single bath.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a room. It all in one room. You know. So you had something like 20 or 30 single baths in this one room.
Right.
And then you'd have another floor next on the other side of the block that had single baths in, and then upstairs there'd be another one with single baths, and upstairs again on the right there'd be single baths. So there'd be 80 or 90 baths in this block.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all there was in the block, baths.
Right.
The place where you did your shaving and all that shit was in another block.
Right.
So all the sinks, and you'll have seen the pictures of army blocks with sinks in a row.
Yes.
Yeah, so and that's how it was. No mirrors, just a fucking load of sinks, and that was it basically. So you had to go. You went to the one place for the bath, and then another place for the ablution bit. You know, the shave and all that. Mm-hmm. Now they made you shave every day, whether you needed it or not.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was 16 years old and I didn't have a hair on my face. You know, I didn't have a hair on my fucking chest, no matter about my face. And I think I only had a couple on my ass at the time. So, but they still made you shave
discipline.
every day. You know, so you got up, you went for your shave and whatever, and you know, do your hair and all that kind of shit. Then you'd go back to the block and make your bed, how it had to be made. And then on a night, when you finished, you'd go to the bath place to have a bath.
Right.
Now, in the bath place, it was just baths. There was nothing there else except baths.
Mm.
Okay? So anyway, we had to parade every day. Every 7 days a week, you had to be on parade at 7:30. You know, boots blacked, hair combed, shaved, all the crap, and you know how you do as a soldier. Anyway, you didn't normally see the regimental sergeant major come onto the square on a morning's parade. It was normally just one of the sergeants or staff sergeants from each thing would take their turn for the parade. But this RSM came on, and we thought, oh fucking hell, the RSM's coming on. There's something happening here, because you knew there was something wrong as soon as you see the RSM coming onto the parade ground. What have we done wrong? Anyway. He said, right, stand at ease. So we stood at ease, and stand easy. So we stood easy, still stood at ease, but they called it standing easy. So he says, right, last night at 10:30, during my rounds of the bathhouse in bathhouse G, I can't remember the exact bathhouse. He says, but in one of the corners, there was a newspaper all crumpled up in the corner. So he said, I thought, you know, what's that doing in the corner of the bathhouse? Who hasn't cleaned up the place? Anyway, he got one of the soldiers to come along and get this crumbled old newspaper up. And when the bloke opened it up, somebody had shit in it.
Oh,
It was a big turd, been wrapped up in paper and chucked in the corner.
That's
So he says, one of you little shits on this parade has shit in the bath and wrapped it up and fucking thrown it away. At first, we thought it might be a big dog. But it can't be a big dog because a fucking dog wouldn't wrap it up in newspaper. So somebody's going to walk forward now and own up. And if you don't, there's going to be repercussions. But nobody came forward. Nobody were going to say, yeah, Sergeant, it was me. I shit in the corner. I shit in the bath and I wrapped it up and threw it in the corner. Nobody's going to say it.
no.
Nobody did. But I tell you what, we regretted it because we were on Jankers for about a month.
Really?
All over, somebody having a shit in the bath. Now, yeah, they could have had it, wrapped it up in paper, and then gone back to the block and put it into the bin.
Yeah.
But no, they had to throw it in the fucking corner. Bump. So, a month's Jankers for somebody having a crap in the bath.
So what do you call Jankers? What were you?
Well, you know, you were loss of privileges and stuff like that because, you know, you did get privileges.
Mm.
You know, if we were all in little squads, you know, so I was in casino platoon.
A fancy name.
And in this barrack block that we were in, there were 4 barrack rooms, and in each room was a platoon. And there was the casino platoon in one, Dunkirk platoon in another, and I can't remember the other 2, but it's something to do with the war. So it could have been, you know, Paris or where, I can't remember them, lots of them. So of course, if you do good things as a platoon, you know, they see you on parade as a platoon and you've done well, they'll give you privileges, you know.
Right.
Well, this week, privilege for casino is they can go to the nappy 4 times a week between 7 and 8, which was a privilege. You know, you couldn't go to the nappy any other night if you didn't have that privilege. And then another privilege was you were allowed to stay up after 8 o'clock because we had to be in bed by 8 o'clock, lights off, tellies off. Well, we're saying tellies off. We had one telly in the room, the telly off, and all in bed because, of course, you were getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And then when you got up at 4 o'clock, you had to make your bed the way they say your bed should be made. You know, it wasn't just a case of pull your blanket over and make it look, you know, you had to have it, you know, hospital bed, you know, blanket corners and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, your room had to be sparkling. So, because the room was inspected every morning. So you'd go out onto the parade and a sergeant would go in to check your room to make sure it was up to standard. And if it wasn't up to standard, you'd see the fucking stuff come flying out the window. You know, the window would open and somebody's fucking bed would fly out.
I've heard these stories.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll just say evening, baby.
Evening, baby.
Gladdy wants to know if you, Kelsey wants to know if you ever found out between you who it was with the party.
No, we don't know who's shit in the corner.
So you didn't get together and say, "Hey, come
on."
No.
Where I was, I was at the Army School of Catering. In the Army School of Catering, when I was there, we had apprentices and junior tradesmen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I was a junior tradesman, but we also had apprentices.
So what difference?
Well, the difference was they were snotty twats, nose up their ass, you know.
Right.
Well, I'm an apprentice. Who gives a fucking rat's ass? I'm doing the same shit. But, you know, they were apprentices and we were junior tradesmen.
Right.
But we all suspected that it was an apprentice who'd done it. For some reason, and I can't remember why, but we'd worked it out that, on that night, the closest you know, the closest block to the block where the baths were was the apprentices' side.
Right.
Now, you know, when the apprentices, or when we went for a bath, you didn't go to the furthest bathroom away. You went to the fucking closest one you could get in.
Yeah.
So, you know, common sense tells you it was an apprentice. But we never found out.
Right.
But
right.
there you go.
And these stories you see where, you know, you see it on telly, don't you? I mean, I've never been in services, but where Sergeant comes in and all beds, and they pick on one, and his locker gets emptied, his bed gets thrown out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it happened all the time.
And would they make an example of an individual and say, this is not right?
Sometimes they'd make an example of the room.
So, and they'd make you all suffer for it.
Yeah.
Because of one person.
If one person made a cock up, you'd all suffer.
Right.
You know. Now, I can remember we had to clean the room every night. And the floor was highly polished.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you didn't want people walking on the fucking highly polished floor.
No.
At night when you'd polished it all, because otherwise you'd have to polish it again when you got up in the morning to make sure there were no marks. So of course you laid down blankets and fucking all sorts to make sure nobody walked on this floor. And if there was a speck or a hair or a feather or whatever on the floor, that was it. The room was in shit.
Right.
You know, and boom. As I say, they'd open the window and the bed would go out. They'd open another window and the telly would go out of it. You know,
and
all sorts.
It was all to build you as a team.
Yeah, it was to make sure that you did as you know. If they said shit in that corner, not in the bath place, but if they come up and said, right, platoon, go and shit in that corner, you actually went over and shit in the corner because that's what you was told to do.
Can you
know
remember,
what I mean?
Can you remember when your first day, when you first arrived?
Yeah.
Was it daunting?
Yeah, it's frightening.
Was it? And there were a lot of shouting going on, and
yeah. It was scary.
Right.
It was really, really scary because the first night, you know, they showed you your room and all, because during the day you'd done loads of stuff. You know, you'd been and had your hair cut and all sorts of things. And then this is your room. That's where you're sleeping. You're sleeping. That's your locker. Put this stuff in that locker. That's yours. That's yours. That's yours. Right. Bed. And you had to be in bed. And of course, you were knackered anyway.
Let me just ask you, Paul, was that first time you'd ever been in a dormitory?
No, it's not, Bobby, because when I was with the school, we went on a school trip to Paris.
Right.
And I was 13 or 14, I think.
Mm.
And we lived in a dormitory in this school in Paris.
Oh, right.
So it's not the first time I'd been in
that environment.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I was used to it, but it was, you know, we did as we were told. We were frightened to death. We did as we were told and went to bed. And it must have been 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And all hell broke loose. Doors were getting rattled. Windows were getting banged. And somebody was banging a drum and somebody was banging a bloody tin pan or whatever.
And you were a 16-year-old lad?
I'm 16. Well, wow. I wasn't quite 16 because I was still 15.
That must have been scary.
Of course, you woke up and you think, what the fuck is happening? And all these older army lads came in and fucking wrecked the room. Absolutely wrecked the room. And of course, then you had to stay up all night putting the room back together so it was all right for the next morning. Otherwise, it'd get fucking wrecked again. You know, so but it only happened once. The first night you were there, it happened. But the great thing about that is, of course, when in 3 months' time, when the next intake came in, because it was like a school, you know, it was there were 4 intakes a year. And so, of course, we were in the September intake. Then you had a January intake in the next year. They came in, and we went into their room late at night and fucking wrecked their room.
Yeah, so
because that's what you did.
Yeah,
and it just went down and down and down through the thing. But
Knox is asking, was your army training in Harrogate?
No, I was in Aldershot.
Aldershot. Now then, where's
Aldershot? The home of the British Army at the time.
Where's that, Aldershot?
Aldershot's down in down south.
Yeah, right.
Well, down south.
So you'd had to travel.
Hampshire.
You'd had to travel on your own.
Yeah, I did. I travelled from York.
Mm-hmm.
My mum put me on the train at York with my little suitcase because I had no clothes or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I had some socks and a couple of pairs of underpants and a t-shirt, I think, in this little case. That's all I had to my name, nothing else. And put me on the train, and they'd sent me a ticket to get me to Aldershot, and off I went. And I had to make my own way from Harrogate to Aldershot, find my own way as such.
I mean, there's not many today. In today's world, isn't so many 16-year-olds could do that. So
I don't know really.
No,
you've got little machines in your hand that can tell you, turn right at the next.
No, I mean,
junction,
what I'm saying is, if you drop them into that world, they won't be able to do it. Because you once you'd
you just as I say, you just that I wanted to do it.
Yeah,
I wasn't pressured in. The judge didn't say either you go in the army or you go into jail. Do you know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
I went in because I wanted to be in. I wanted to be a soldier. I didn't want to be a fucking chef, to tell you the truth. But that's unfortunately when you go to. How
did that come about then, being a chef?
Well, you go to the recruiting office. Now, the recruiting office I went to was in Hull, Paragon, near Paragon Station, I think it was. Anyway, 23rd of September, 1960, whatever. You've gone. You've disappeared, matey. There you are. Bear with me.
There we go.
You disappeared for some reason. Yeah, so I think it was 23rd of September, 1965.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could have been 66. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, I went to this army recruiting place to swear my oath to the Queen. So you put your hand up, you swear the oath, and you get the Queen's shilling type thing.
Yeah.
Symbolic Queen's shilling. You didn't get a shilling, but it was symbolic.
You didn't even get it.
No, you didn't get a shilling. It was a symbolic shilling. But once you'd done it, you had to go into another room and take an exam.
Right.
And it was, it was maths, English. There was 3 or 4, maths, English, and something else. I can't remember exactly. And, I was shit at school because I never went. I just didn't bother going to school. So my maths was shit. My English was East Yorkshire English, so...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my general knowledge bit was basically Doctor Who and Four Feather Falls and shit like that. I didn't know nothing about the fucking world. So anyway, I took this test, and at the end of the test, you fit into a bracket. So for my test, I fit into a bracket, and the bracket was Army Catering Corps, Transport, Service Corps, and there was another one I can't remember. And I thought, well, I don't want to be. I'm quite good at cooking, and I like my food, so I'll go as a cook. So I volunteered to go as a cook. So that's how I became a cook. It wasn't because I'd gone with the sole intention of being a cook.
And that's where you learnt your trade.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the Army School of Catering in Aldershot, fucking huge place, and I sack my city and guilds and all that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was like, like I say, a college.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so you learned your trade and how to cut a potato and a banana and all, you know, all that kind of shit, and how to cook an egg and whatever. But as I say, I passed my city and guilds. I passed 2 city and guilds. And then I passed a couple of army courses as well. We used to have, and I can't remember exactly, but we used to have an A1, a B1, and a C1. It's A2, B2, and C2. And I passed my B1 and B2 as well, which was army qualifications. So I did quite well for my chosen profession as such.
So how did you go on when we leave, being able to see your family and that?
Well, because it was like a school, you know. So when you go to school, you have a term, and the term was 13 weeks, just like a school.
Right.
So you used to every week you used to go into the pay room, and you all had to line up, wait for your pay. And, you know, you used to have to go salute, put your hand out and get your 10 shillings in your hand. That was your pay for the week. 10 bob.
10 bob, aye.
Yeah. And then, as you got out the door, the sergeant major would say, right, you've got your 10 bob, get down to the nappy and buy yourself a pair of bootlaces, 2 a pack of razor blades, 2 dusters, and something else. I can't remember what the other one was. And so you went into the nappy and bought all those, and you ended up with like 2 bob left, and that had to last you the week. 2 bob.
So rations,
but saying that, at the end, you know, when you come to the end of the 13 weeks, and, you know, the day before you go on leave, or whatever you want to call it, because the leave would last 3 to 4 weeks, just like at school.
Right, so that's decent, aye.
So they'd issue you with a ticket to get you from Aldershot to Brid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put your hand out and you got 13 weeks pay into your hand. Everything
Wow.
they hadn't paid you. So I was going home with something like 150 quid in my skyrocket.
Wow, so you were 10
at
foot
16.
Tall. Aye.
Might not have been that much, but it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I'm 16, just 16 years old, and I've got 100 and odd quid in my pocket. I'm like walking on fucking air. I'm rich. And then, of course, you had to make your way from Aldershot to Brid.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately for me, I would catch we would all catch the Aldershot train to take you into London, and then we'd all go our separate ways, you know, different way on undergrounds to get to the things. Mine was King's Cross. So go to King's Cross and train for Hull. Oh, there's one at 8:15 or whatever. Get on the train for Hull, and you pull into Hull at 10:15. And what was the last train to Brid? 10 o'clock.
Oh, so you were stuck
So you were stuck in fucking Hull.
overnight.
Well, you were stuck in Hull with your suitcase. You had plenty of money in your pocket, but that wasn't the point. The point was you wanted to get home.
Yeah,
Why the fuck am I stuck in Hull? What's a 10 o'clock train doing? Why isn't it fucking later?
Yeah.
Anyway, and you couldn't stay on the station. The station locked. After the last train altogether, the station was locked down, so you couldn't go and have a kip on a bench in the station. You couldn't go outside and have a kip on the bench are out because the cops would come and fucking move you along. So quite often I've walked from Hull to Brid.
Wow, that's a
So
long way.
I've got into Hull at like 10:15, knowing that the train's not going to be there. And of course, I'd set off and I'd catch a bus to the edge of town because the buses were a bit later. So I catch the bus to the edge of town, and then on the Hull Road, I call it the Hull Road, but it's the road to Brid, if you see what I mean. I'd get off there, and then I'd start walking. But I'd walk like that with my thumb out, because you did that back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, thumb was out. I was in uniform, which helped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm walking along. So every so often somebody would pull up. Where you going? Where you going, little un? Oh, I'm going to Brid. Oh, I can take you to
So and so.
yeah, I can take you 5 mile up the road. Is that all right? Yeah, fine. You get 5 mile up the road, then I'm back on the road and thing. And then when it got really late into the night, of course, there's no traffic. So what I used to do was what I call run a lamppost and walk a lamppost. So I'd set off, fast walk, and the first lamppost, I'd start running.
Right.
And then the second lamppost, I'd slow back down and start walking. So I'd run a lamppost, walk a lamppost, run a lamppost, walk a lamppost. Still going like that, just in case somebody came by.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can remember my mum saying, I got in one morning at, I think about 4:15, maybe 5:15. I can't remember the exact time. But my mum played, "Holy shit, are you stupid? Fucking walking from Hull to Brid."
Hiya, Sharon. Sorry.
Hiya, Sharon. So I says, "Well, it's the only way I could get home, Mum." "Well, you should have just stayed at the hotel or whatever." "Well, I wasn't going to spend my money in the hotel when I can, you know, I'm a fit lad." And I was fit.
Yeah.
They'd made me fucking fit. You know, I wasn't a scrawny old little shit that I went in as. I was a muscly little twat.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I did the road walk and run.
Should have been proud. Should have been proud of you doing that.
And then, you know, after I'd gone to bed and got up the next day, you know, I'd go up to her and I'd take all the money out of my pocket and I'd give her it all. So there you go. That's what I've earned in the past 13 weeks.
Yeah.
And she said, "No, I don't want it." I said, "No, you take it. It's yours. You can give me whatever you want. You know, if you think, you know, if I want to go to a dance or whatever, you'll give me 10 bob or whatever to go to the dance."
Yeah.
So I made sure that she got all the money that I got
Mm-hmm.
and I passed it to her. But she always made sure that I got it back. You know, she didn't profit from it, but
It's a lovely story, is that, Paul? You know,
I didn't go broke or out like that.
No, but it's a lovely story that.
But my other brothers didn't do that.
No.
Only me.
But it is a lovely story, that, because, you know, that bond you have with your mum that says,
Do you know, Bobby? I would have laid my life down for my mother.
Yeah,
and you know, I would. There's no two bones about it. My brother wouldn't. I know he wouldn't. He's a little shit.
And you'll know
not this one here, but
no.
I had a little black sheep of the family who used to nick everything.
Yeah,
you know, he used to nick my mum's pension book and go to the post office, sign for a pension, and get her a fucking pension.
As a father and a grandfather yourself, you'll embrace that from a younger generation doing that for you.
Well, you know, I do have,
and your mother would have done.
I'm not going to mention any names or, you know, all like that, but I do have some people in my family who have taken the piss. Granddad or dad or whatever, you know, Uncle Paul, do you think you can lend me 200 quid? I need to do this. Well, you know, if I had it, they were family, they could have it. It wouldn't make any, I wouldn't dream about not giving it. But some of them take the piss and they don't give you it back. Do you know what I mean? No. And then, you know, you see them on, I don't know, social media across in fucking Cyprus having the best holiday you've ever had in your life.
Well, that's,
you know what I mean?
I know, but that's by the
takes the piss.
That's a different generation, different
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
But you know yourself, you did your best for your mum, and that's a lovely story.
Oh, yeah.
That.
I
more
did
sleep
it.
than I get to see.
You know, every time I came on leave, on leave, that's what I did. Even when I was married.
Yeah.
You know, I was married young, and it wasn't very often we came home to Brid. But when I did come home to Brid, I always handed my money over to my mother.
Yeah.
My wife went apeshit. What are you doing giving your mother all that money? Was it? There's us. I said, if you want anything, we'll get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She ain't going to say, no, you can't have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
lovely.
Anyway,
lovely.
That was my life. And the life and times of a 16-year-old. But it was like that right up until I was 18.
I'm gonna best you every week for a little story. So
I do have lots of little stories in my head.
Yeah, but that's a lovely
and
little
then,
story.
as I say, when I start one, things pop back in. You know, I could have told you the story. I could have elaborated a little bit on a story about me coming from Aldershot to go to to go to Hull and getting, I don't know what the word is. What's the word nowadays? Picked up by a Coldstream Guard man, an officer in the Coldstream Guards.
Well, listen, Paul, we'll stop that there now. Coldstream Guard. Somebody remember that in chat, and we'll bring that one up next week.
I'm not going to tell you much about that because it's a little bit naughty.
Well, we'll expect it.
Anyway, peeps, I can honestly say I've enjoyed my evening. I'm sat here, quite honestly, and I can feel that I need to go and get my bum on the toilet.
On the phone.
Yeah. So I've enjoyed my hour. I've enjoyed being on with you, Bobby. I've enjoyed telling the little stories. And, you know, if people are interested, they're interested. If they're not, who gives a rat's ass? Quite honestly.
Elsie, remember Coldstream Guards, and we'll pick that up next week. Right.
Yeah.
I'll say goodbye to everybody.
You say goodbye.
And I'll say goodbye. Thanks, everybody, for popping in. It's lovely to see you all, and I'll pass you over to Paul.
Right, peeps. Thank you for turning up. And, you know, I'm not going to mention everybody because I can't remember everybody. And we're in double figures tonight, which is most unusual. I can remember Noxie, Sharon, Kelsey, Tom, Gilly, Clary, was it? I can't remember anymore. Sharon. And so it's live long and prosper. Take care. TTFN. And hopefully see you on Sunday evening. Bye.
Have a great week, folks. Bye now.